What if I told you that by watching this one video, you will be able to create your own After Effects script using Codex for free, improve your editing workflow, and if you want, you can even create multiple scripts to sell on platforms like Gumroad and make good money? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you in today's video. Think of this as a step-by-step guide, or you can call it a mini course if you want to. Now, I'm not a coder or a developer. I am just an editor who got tired of one very real problem. Most editors think AI is only useful for generating videos, writing captions, creating thumbnails, or making quick ideas. But I think the bigger opportunity is different. AI can help us build tools for problem we face every single day. Like when we start working on a new project, everything goes smoothly. But after a while, the timeline starts getting messy, layers everywhere with random names, and we start spending more time finding things than actually editing them. And that's when I realized that sometimes the real problem is not creativity, it's the workflow around the creativity. Trying to keep the timeline clean, I had to look for a new After Effects script every time in order to save time and work faster. I thought, what if I build my own small After Effects tool? A tool for my workflow, a tool that helps me edit faster, a tool that solves the small boring task I repeat every single day. So in this video, I am going to build my own After Effects script using ChatGPT Codex. And I decided to call this script Dope Toolkit. It is going to be a real After Effects script panel made with ExtendScript JSX, and I'm going to show you how I planned it, how I prompted Codex, and how I tested it inside After Effects. We will also take a look at how I improved the UI and how a useful tool like this can also become a small digital product. And yes, I am giving this tool for free, so stay till the end if you want to try it inside your own After Effects workflow. So now let's talk about chapter 1, the real problem I wanted to solve. Now, before opening Codex, I did not just start with the code. Instead, I started with my own workflow, because if you do not understand the problem clearly, AI will not magically understand it for you. So I asked myself a simple question: what are the small tasks I repeat again and again every single day inside After Effects? And I found 5 things. First, renaming layers. When I'm making reels or motion graphics, I usually create multiple text layers, but if I do not rename them properly, everything becomes confusing later. So I wanted one tool where I can select layers, type a base name, and rename them instantly. The second one was adjustment layers. Since I create adjustment layers all the time for adding colors, adding effects, adding glows, I wanted a simple one-click button to create a normal adjustment layer with effects like lumetric color, curves, Gaussian blur, basically effects that I use all the time. Third one was auto label. When a timeline has too many layers, colors helps a lot. Text layers should have one color, shape layers should have another, and footages should have another. Null, precoms, camera, lights, everything should have their own colors. This way, it will be very easier to identify them visually. The fourth one was markers. When I'm planning scenes, B-rolls, sounds, beats, transitions, I had to add markers manually. So I wanted one simple tool that can add numbered markers at the start and at the end of the selected layers, like scene 1 2 3 or b-roll 1 2 3. The fifth one was very important, and that is folder organizer. Every project should have clean folders like for comms, footages, images, audios, solid, precoms, and exports. But most of the time we organize things only after the project is already messy. So I just wanted one button that can create all the folders instantly. Now, as you can see, these all features are not fancy, but that is the point. I do not want a tool that looks impressive but I never use it. I want a boring practical tool that saves me real time. And that became the idea of Dope Toolkit. Now let's head on to chapter 2, where we will be building Dope Toolkit with ChatGPT Codex. So now I'm going to open up ChatGPT Codex, and the easiest way to understand this is that ChatGPT helps you think through ideas and Codex helps you turn those ideas into working code. Normally, when we use ChatGPT, we ask one question and get one answer. But Codex works more like an agent. It can understand a task, write a code, fix errors, improve a file, and continue working through multiple iterations. And this was perfect for this project because building an After Effects script is not one prompt job. I realized this is not a one-step process because first I need a working version, then I need to test it, fix errors, improve the UI, and verify that nothing breaks. So I use Codex like a creative technical partner. Now, one of the most important part here was the prompt. I did not say that make me an After Effects script. That is too vague. Instead, I gave Codex a very structured prompt. I told it that I want to create an Adobe After Effects script using ExtendScript JSX, and I want one complete dockable script UI panel called Dope Toolkit. Then I clearly mentioned that this is stage 1 and the UI should be simple, functional, compact, and categorized. I also told it not to focus on advanced styling yet. First, I wanted all the features to work properly. Then I gave it compatibility rules. I told Codex to use extended script compatible syntax and avoid modern JavaScript methods, add beginner friendly comments, include proper error handling with alerts, and wrap every main operation inside undo groups so actions can be undone properly inside After Effects. Then I explained the layout, like keep the panel compact, clean, and stable with clear sections like rename, adjustment, auto label, marker, and folder organizer. Instead of adding too many drop down menus, I wanted direct buttons so the script feels simple, fast, and easy to use. Then I explained each tool in detail. For rename, I explained the base name input, numerical renaming, alphabetical renaming, and alerts for missing compositions, missing selections, or empty base name. For adjustment, I explained the 4 buttons: none, lumetri, curves, and blur. I also told Codex that if layers are selected, the layer adjustment layer should be placed above the selected layers and trimmed according to their timings. For auto label, I gave the default mapping. Text layers should be yellow, shape layers should be blue, footages should be green, and so on. For marker, I explained the prefix input and the 2 buttons like add in and add out. And for folder organizer, I gave the exact folder names I wanted, like comps, footages, images, audio, etc. At the end, I asked Codex to output the complete JSX file and explain where to save it so it appears inside After Effects as a dockable panel. This is the difference between casually using AI and actually directing AI. I am not just asking Codex to guess what I want. I'm giving it the same clarity I would give to a developer. And while doing this, I learned one important thing. Some tasks are verifiable and some tasks are open-ended. Rename is verifiable, meaning if I click rename 1, the layers should become hook text 01, hook text 02, and so on. That either works or it does not. But the UI design is open-ended. When I say make it cleaner or more professional, Codex can try, but I have to, judge the result and give feedback. So in stage 1, I focused on the verifiable task first. The basic idea was to first make the tool work and then make the panel look better later. Now we head on to chapter 3, that is where we will be testing the script inside After Effects and improving the UI. So after Codex generated the first JSX file, I copied the code and saved it as a .jsx file. Then I placed it inside After Effects script UI panel folder, and after saving the file, I restarted After Effects, went to Windows, and there it was, Dope Toolkit. And honestly, this part felt really exciting because this was not just a script I downloaded from the internet. This was my own toolkit around my own workflow. And of course, before using any script in any real project, always test it on a duplicate project first, because even if Codex helps you build the script, you still need to check if everything works safely inside your After Effects setup. Now I started testing it. First, I selected a few layers and typed transition in the base name field and clicked rename 01. The layers instantly became transition 01, transition 02, and so on. Then I tested rename A and it renamed them alphabetically. Now, this small thing already saves time, especially when a project has too many layers. Then I tested the adjustment layer section. I selected a layer and clicked Lumetri. It created an adjustment layer above the selected layer and applied Lumetri color. And then I tested the other functions too. So now instead of manually creating adjustment layer again and again, I could now do it with just one button. Then I tested the auto label. I selected multiple layer types and clicked auto label. Text layers got one color, shape layers got another. So basically every type of layer got its own color. And suddenly the timeline became easier to read. Then I tested the marker tool. I selected a few layers, kept the prefix as seen and clicked add in. It added numbered markers at the start of each selected layer. Then I tested add out and it added markers at the endpoints. And finally I clicked on create folders, and inside After Effects project panel it created a clean folder structure. At this point stage 1 was working perfectly, but the UI still looked quite basic. It was functional but it did not feel polished. So I went back to Codex for stage 2. Now I wanted the panel to feel like something I would actually keep open while editing. So instead of telling Codex like make it beautiful, I gave it a psychology behind the design. I wanted it to feel like a small control center for editors. Not fancy, not over designed, not like a futuristic dashboard with icons, gradients, and unnecessary effects. I just wanted it to feel like something that belongs inside of After Effects already. Dark, compact, clean, and practical. So I guided Codex like a designer. I told it not to add icons because icons may not render properly in After Effects script UI. I told it not to make interface too large because this panel should sit beside your timeline. I also told it not to touch the working functions because stage 1 was already very stable. My mindset was very clear. Do not rebuild the tool to make it decorative, just improve the experience. And after this, Codex updated the panel in much better direction. It still had the same tools, but now it felt more intentional. Before using it properly, I also asked Codex to verify the script. I checked whether the panel was still dockable, all buttons were properly connected, whether the code was ExtendScript safe, undo groups were included, and alerts were also present. And also check if no tool was removed during the UI update. This step matters because when you are building something you will actually use, do not blindly trust the first output. Ask Codex to verify the work, then test it yourself inside the software. And that is how the workflow becomes reliable. Now it's time for the final chapter. Why this is bigger than one After Effects tool. Now, Dope Toolkit is a very simple tool, but the bigger idea is not just this one script. The bigger idea is that creators can now build tools around their own workflow because you do not need to become a full-time developer to build something useful. But you need to understand your creative problems deeply. Codex can write the code, but you have to give it the right problem. You have to know what should happen when you click a particular button. You have to know what wastes your time and what feels useful, because that is where your creative experience becomes valuable. And this is not limited to After Effects. If you are an editor, you can build a project folder organizer. If you make reels, you can build a caption style helper. If you work with clients, you can build a revision tracker. If you make thumbnails, you can build a title and concept generator. If you sell presets, you can build a preset manager. If you are a designer, you can build tools for Photoshop workflows, LUT organization, animation presets, file naming, client delivery, or asset management, whatever that you want. The idea is simple. Look at your workflow and ask yourself, what do I repeat every day? And that repeated task can become a tool. And if it saves your time, there is a good chance it can save someone else's time too. And this is where things become very interesting, because once you build a very useful tool, it can become a digital product that you can sell on Gumroad. You can include it inside a course. You can give it as a bonus with your preset. You can give it for free and grow your community. And this is why I think creators should take ChatGPT Codex seriously. Not because everyone needs to become a developer, but because every creator understands problems that developers may never notice. Most people are using AI to create outputs, but with Codex, I am using AI to create workflow systems. So that is all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do let me know in the comments below. And if you're watching my video for the very first time, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and always stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.